when it happens next time, which is coming, and we're starting to see the thin edge of the wedge right now, when this thing really gets going, when everybody in the United States and Canada and Europe and Britain and China, everybody says, we're going to be on this train. They're going to clean out the world retail bullion inventories in a matter of days or weeks. And I've seen it before. I know exactly what it looks like. But this time, things are different because everybody's got an app on their phone and they can just buy this and buy that in a heartbeat. And I guarantee that once this gold rush and silver rush really gets legs, you're going to see the retail bullion inventory wiped out because
You're watching Capital Cause, and my name is Danny, and today's guest is fan favorite Ed Steer. Ed, thank you so much for coming back on, my friend.
You're entirely welcome, Danny.
Well, Ed, let us just dive right in. It is President's Day, so not much going on market-wise, but to you right now, what is the most topical news item on your plate at the moment? We were just discussing how there's just so much news to gobble up, to consume daily, just before we hit record. So I wanna get your take here. Out of everything that's going on in the metals markets and I guess everywhere else as well, what's hot and heavy on your plate right now?
I'll tell you what, there is so much going on in the precious metals market right now. In the last 3 months, has been picking up speed. Ever since then, as I said in the last paragraph of my Saturday column, I said, one almost needs a program to keep up with events these days, because everything, I opened my inbox this morning, there's like 5 or 6 gold stories in there and one silver story.
Right.
The deliveries continue unabated. It's just the mad scramble for physical metal now is just, it's over the top. Never seen anything like it. Was that Hemingway said, slowly at first, then suddenly? Well, Something looks like something is about to break here. I just don't know when, but there's momentous things happening in the precious metals market at the moment.
Yeah, I'm looking at this one news item here. It says transfers of physical gold from the Bank of England to New York is now exceeding the panic during the COVID-19 crisis. So if you look at the COMEX, the big three vaults over at the COMEX, the transference of gold has now exceeded what transpired during COVID-19.
Oh heavens! This is This February, right now, what we're living through right now is the biggest delivery month in gold that I can possibly remember, going back to 1920. I think we had about by the time the month is closed, we'll be well over 7 million ounces of gold delivered from London to New York. That's got frequent flyer miles attached to it. Now it's just a one-way street, and I post the gold and silver import numbers into the COMEX in New York every day in my column, so you can watch this in real time unfolding. And as I was speaking about on the phone before we went live here, is that today is President's Day in the U.S. and the gold markets are closed now in New York, but the Globex trading system was open, and there had already been 1,483 gold contracts traded in February, which is the current delivery month. And every one of those gold contracts in February that's traded is more gold that's standing for delivery. That's 148,000 ounces, which is just under 5 tons. And this has been going on day after day after day, week after week. And this has been since the start of January, since the beginning of January. And, that's a small day. And the only reason it's not bigger than 1,483 is because, as you pointed out, and I just discovered this morning, is that it's President's Day in the U.S. I can guarantee if the markets have been open in New York, that number would be 3,000 or 4,000 contracts, which is like 300,000, 400,000 ounces of gold. And, this has to be, drawn from the LBMA or the Bank of England, put on a 747 cargo plane and flown across the Atlantic. And as a comment I made earlier in the week, I said you can pretty much guarantee that there's gold and silver in the air over the Atlantic Ocean almost 24/7 now. That's how amazing the demand is.
And is it just to New York, or is it going to other places as well?
Well, I keep track of daily basis of what's going into Shanghai, and it's almost all going to New York. That's what we can see. The Shanghai Gold Exchange. I update the Shanghai Silver Exchange numbers every day in my column, and sometimes they're up and sometimes they're down. But for the most part, there's gold going into China. China doesn't report its numbers. Now they report gold imports every month, and they've been importing 3 tons, 5 tons. That's what they're reporting. But most people believe, and I'm one of them, that their gold imports far exceed what they're reporting. And one of these days, they're just going to drop the number on us. And Alistair McLeod and I are both of the opinion that right now, in various accounts hidden away in China, that the Bank of China to get collectively has over 20,000 tons of gold that they're not reporting. And the day they do decide to come clean and report what they actually hold, that will be the day that the pricing of gold switches from the LBMA and the COMEX to Shanghai, which is where it should be, because they're the biggest producers and biggest consumers of gold, and that's rightfully where the price should be set, because it's a completely physical market. There's no paper attached to it like there is in London, or especially in the COMEX in New York, where the price is actually set. And the day that we see that shift is going to be a monumentous day in world financial history.
What's the rationale for China to underreport their numbers? Why would they want to do that?
Well, there's been a battle going on between the East and the West. Civilizations rise and fall. There was the Spanish and the Portuguese and the Dutch and then the British. And then the Americans took over from that, and empires rise and empires fall, and the American empire is falling, and everybody knows that. They're hugely in debt. They'll never be able to pay it off. I know that Trump and Mr. Musk are trying to save it, but the fact of the matter is that the financial system, the U.S. dollar, are way past their best before use dates. And China, the rise of China in the last 20 years, 30 years, and I remember China when it was a nothing country, and now look at it today. And they're aiming to take over they've already taken over, but they don't want, they're playing their cards very close to their chest. There's lots of things they're doing inside the country regarding precious metals we don't know about. And if they wanted to, take over the pricing of gold and silver in the financial system, they'd keep their cards hidden for as long as possible. And only when the time is suitable for them will they spring it on us, and it'll be a fait accompli. And like I said, the world will change. If you're going to make a change like this, if you're going to become an empire, okay, you want to take over from the U.S. and the Portuguese and the Dutch and the Spanish, all through British, all through history, and you're making your move in a computer age like this, where knowledge is transferred instantaneously. It's not like the old ships that took 6 months to get from here to there. Now it's a fraction of at light speed. So if they were to make a move like this, they're not going to tell everybody what they're doing. And if I was doing that, I wouldn't be telling anybody either.
Right. Now, just last week, the news broke that South Korea's mint has temporarily suspended sales of gold bars. Is this something that could become epidemic across multiple countries? Meaning that once this run on gold happens, could the sale of gold become verboten?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We've seen it here in North America, Europe, and in Britain before. It's not like this is anything new. It's just the fact that Korea, all of a sudden, everybody went gold and silver crazy like they're doing in China. Even the retail buying in China has picked up enormously, despite the fact that prices are going up, and the Chinese are very price sensitive. Normally, they wait for a correction and then buy. They're like the Indian people from India. But this time, everybody says they're going for the gold, they're going for the silver. And what that did is, the local refinery got overwhelmed. And I used to work in the retail bullion trade for 4 years part-time, way back, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I can't even remember now. And I remember a couple of times where the sales were so strong that not only did we get cleaned out of inventory, but all the mints and refineries were backed up for months. We had 3-4 month deliveries. This has happened twice in the last 10 years, so this is not something new. And when it happens next time, which is coming, and we're starting to see the thin edge of the wedge right now, when this thing really gets going, when everybody in the United States and Canada and Europe and Britain and China, everybody says we're going to be on this train, they're going to clean out the world retail bullion inventories in a matter of days or weeks. And I've seen it before. I know exactly what it looks like, but this time things are different because everybody's got an app on their phone and they can just buy this and buy that in a heartbeat. And I guarantee that once this gold rush and silver rush really gets legs, you're going to see the retail bullion inventory wiped out, because the retail, from the refinery, from the mine to the refinery to the mint to the retail, it's a long, thin, very, very shallow line. And retail bullion sales are only determined by how much the mints can actually produce. And like you said, in Korea, let's say they can produce 7,000 ounces or 10,000 ounces of silver and gold bullion per day, because that's all the mints can turn out. That's all their stamping machines can turn out, or their refining of gold kilobars. They can only produce that. So if you can only produce 10,000 ounces of whatever per day, that's your demand, because you can't exceed that. And that's going to happen worldwide one of these days. And it's happened in the past, and it'll happen again. But next time, once it gets cleaned out and the prices really soar, the physical metal just won't be available again at any price. I've seen it before, and it's coming again.
Now, there's been this saying that's gone on for about 10 years or so in the in this space, and that is don't fight the Fed. Meaning, wherever the government is gonna lean into, just go with it. Well, now there's this theory going around, and it appears to have some legs to it. And that is that the government, or i.e., the Trump administration, may be inclined to want to see a higher gold price to increase, I guess, the gold valuation on their balance sheet. Currently, gold is valuated at $42 on their balance sheet. Now, if that were to be revaluated up to, let's say, $3,000 or more, the U.S. balance sheet would tell a whole different story. And that could potentially bring down the 10-year yield, which is the stated objective of both Trump and Bessent. What do you make of this idea? What's your view on this?
Yeah, well, revaluing the gold reserve's been around for 20 years. I mean, I've been in the gold space now since, I don't know, I think I started in 1997. So, I've been around the block a few times. So this has always been in the wind, but now with Trump and Musk in there, you're seeing there's a new sheriff in town, and his deputies have turned into pit bulls, and they are moving at light speed. And the deep state, including the Federal Reserve, are in full panic mode, because these guys aren't taking any prisoners. Okay, they really aren't. So that when they float this stuff out now, when people like Elon Musk and Paul Rand and whoever, his dad, say it's time to revalue the reserves, or it's time to audit. It's time to audit the Fed in Fort Knox. I mean, you got to stand up and notice that these guys are serious. Okay, it's either going to happen, or the threat is very serious. And even if they revalue gold from $42.22 an ounce, which you correctly pointed out is what is being valued at right now, even if they revalued it to 3,000 an ounce, the current price, I think I saw someplace it was like $800 billion or whatever that is. It was a big number. I mean, that's a huge number. But when you take a look at the debt that the U.S. holds, it's a drop in the bucket. They would have to revalue gold to some fantastic price, 10 times that amount, okay, to really make a difference, where you could get 40% valuation against your dollar or whatever, pay down the debt or whatever.
Why is it valued at $42 though?
Well, when Roosevelt, I can't remember the seat, was back in 1921 or whenever it was, 31, or whenever everybody was required to turn in their gold in the U.S. and They bought it back at $20 an ounce. So that's what gold cost back. You know, you ordered a $20 gold piece, and it said on your dollar, you know, on your $20 bill, will redeem, you know, for gold at any branch of any bank, and you could do that. So once they took the gold out, then they revalued the gold from. Once they got all the gold they thought they could get, okay, that the public was willing to turn in, then they revalued gold from $35 up to $42, and that was devaluing the dollar. Can they do it today? You betcha. Okay, but going from $42 to the current price, I mean that's huge. I mean the devaluation or the revaluation from $20 to 35 is nothing compared to, you know, revaluating for 42 to 3,000. I mean it's unbelievable difference. And even then, with, you know, the currency debasement and the money printing, $3,000 just doesn't cut it. But any revaluation like that all of a sudden puts gold back in as a tier one asset, which the Bank for International Settlements, you know, declared what 2 or 3 years ago. So, you know, gold is money. Like J.P. Morgan said, gold is money, and everything else is credit. So, you know, gold is back in play, and it's showing up everywhere in deliveries and everything else. You know, so you know, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. And one of these days, revaluation or not, we're going to see a brand new shiny price for gold.
Yeah, it's fascinating times indeed, especially if the government gets behind pushing the gold price higher. And you said $800 billion is what the total gold holdings amount to on the balance sheet, correct? And that's valued at $42. So if you revalue gold to $3,000, that's just give it a 100x multiple. I mean, wouldn't that shoot their gold holdings all the way up to $80 trillion? Could that be correct?
Another 3,000, no, I think it's 8 trillion or something like that. You know, I don't know the exact number, but it's not enough to make a real material
Okay.
difference. They'd have to revalue gold to say 30,000 an ounce for it to really make a difference. Now, can they do that? Will they do that? I don't know. That's wild ass speculation. And I just don't know. All I know is that gold is now in play on the financial markets in the world, whether at the Bank for International Settlements or with the Federal Reserve or whoever. And there's a wild, mad scramble now for physical metal in the United States, and it's being flown out of London at record amounts. It's in the air 24/7, and you know the physical demand is out of the U.S. is just incredible, absolutely incredible. Never seen anything like it in my 27 years I've been doing this, or how long I've been at it. So the you know the panic into gold, the rush for gold, physical gold in hand is there, and there has to be a revaluation of gold sooner or later. I mean, the price, Danny, the last time I was on your show, you know, the price for gold and silver and all major commodities is set in the paper market in the COMEX in New York. And this paper price has been dictated everything for the last, you know, since we went off the gold standard back in the 70s. And these are all artificial prices. Nobody knows what the true free market price of anything is today. I don't care whether it's tin or rubber or crude oil or cocoa or coffee or gold or silver. All I can tell you is that right now, because you know we've been in a structural deficit in silver now, this is its 5th year. My opinion, and I'm not wrong about this, is that gold should be about 10 times the price it is right now today. So, you know, you take a number, you know, based on supply and demand fundamentals and the price of gold right now, the gold silver ratio is 91 to 1, and it comes out of the ground at a ratio of 7 to 1. We're in a structural deficit. Silver should be 10 times the price it is today if it was allowed to trade freely in the COMEX in New York, which it's not. I mean, you just have to look at the price every day and know that it's being actively managed like gold is today. They're not letting it above 2,900. So, you know, if silver should be 10 times its price based on its supply-demand fundamentals, what does that mean for gold? I mean, 10 times the price today is what? $29,000 an ounce. Is it going to make it? Who the heck knows? We just don't know, you know, and the only way we're going to find out what the true free market prices of anything are is for the guys at the COMEX and the bullion banks in the world to stand back, put their hands in their pockets, and let's see what the free market does with it, because nobody knows what those prices are. But I absolutely guarantee you they are several magnitudes larger than what you're looking at on your computer screen today.
Yeah, we certainly are in revolutionary times, and this is why I want to again and really encourage my audience to reach out to our good partners over at ITM Trading and set up a one-on-one call to figure out what works best for you when it comes to your gold and silver buying and allocation. The prices are great, as are the team of experts there as well. The link to their website is down below, so I can't encourage you guys enough to set up a time, figure out what works for you regarding your gold and silver portfolio. The number is also here on the screen somewhere on as well, so you could always call the number too. Ed, what about silver? Silver was the big discussion you and I had last time regarding deliveries. Is silver being cleared out of the vaults as well currently, or similar to gold, or no?
Oh, it's the same. My biggest regret right now about silver is that silver analyst Ted Butler, who is the number one silver and gold analyst on planet Earth, passed away about a year ago now, and he's not around to see what's going on today because I'm sure he'd be incensed by what's happening. But as far as silver is concerned, the deliveries in silver, December is a scheduled delivery month. It was a big delivery month. January, which is not a scheduled delivery month, was huge again. I think there was, I don't know, I can't remember offhand. I think it was like over 20 million ounces, no, over 15 million ounces were delivered on the COMEX in January. And February, we're already up to 24 million ounces of silver delivered, and it's not even the amount of silver that's being, moved around or changing hands or whatever is just, I thought gold was bad, but silver's off the charts. And March coming up is a scheduled delivery month for silver, and just based on what's being delivered in non-scheduled delivery months indicates that March is going to be huge for silver, like February's been huge for gold. And it's everybody out there in the gold world, even the guys in the LBMA and the LBMA, the Bank of England, everybody was caught flat-footed by this. Everybody's scrambling for an explanation, and all of a sudden they went from just normal deliveries to all of a sudden everything just went totally non-linear. So everybody's scrambling to get a handle on this and deal with the vast amounts of gold that being flown from England to New York, and how long you can keep this up, I just don't know, because there's a finite amount of gold and silver in the world. There's a lot of gold in London, sure, but huge amounts of the gold sitting in London at the LBMA and the Bank of England are already spoken for by hedge funds and mutual funds and ETFs and various governments around the world. So their float, what they got available, they can ship out the door. Is finite, okay? And you just can't keep up these kinds of deliveries without running into a physical brick wall at some point. And like I said, everybody's scrambling, everybody's making this going as they go along, and including myself to a certain extent. But all I do know is the fact that one of these days that the physical demand in silver we'll run into a supply brick wall, because we've been in this silver deficit since the fifth year. I don't know what it's going to be this year. I think it was 235 million ounces in 2024, and even if it's only 200 million ounces, I mean, somebody's got to cough up that stuff, and there's only so much on the LBMA. JP Morgan is supplying some into the market. There's no question about that. Ted Butler was the opinion, that after that big crash of 2011, when they took silver $50 down to whatever it was, that they managed to load up in about 1 billion ounces of silver, but he figures they're just about through that now. So it's just a matter of the physical demand, and the retail market. You were just advertising whatever company you were just advertising. The fact is, they have silver now, but like I said before, when this thing really becomes a big gold rush and silver rush by everybody on planet Earth, they won't have an ounce to sell except what somebody's prepared to sell back to them. Okay, and as somebody said on the internet, silver and gold will become unobtainium. Okay, that day is in our future for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely wild seeing it play out because I know I mean you've been tracking this market much longer than I have, as you've said, for many decades, and to see it play out must be surreal at this point. If you had to throw out a best guess in terms of what's driving this, why is this happening now? The ongoing narrative is that it's tariffs. But these are just buyers trying to get ahead of the upcoming Trump tariffs on Canada and Mexico and elsewhere that will not exempt the gold and silver deliveries in the process. But is that really the case, or is there something more to it that you can kind of surmise?
Well, the tariffs was brought up, and there may be some truth to that, but like I said, people are making this stuff up as they go along. Um, but I think it's a combination of what's been going on for the last 30 years, 25, 30 years, where the confidence in the U.S. dollar, paper currencies has been eroding slowly but surely, and things start to happen. Germany tried to repatriate their gold, and they discovered to their horror that New York couldn't do it because they didn't have the gold. They'd already leased it out into the market, and what Germany had to wait 7 years, 7 years to get it back. I mean, and other central banks, other countries start to notice this, and then slowly, and things get faster and faster, and somebody else repatriates. Poland buys 200 tons, India buys 200 tons, and the pace quickens and quickens and quickens. And all of a sudden, in the last 6 weeks, 2 months, it's become an absolute blind panic to get as much gold and silver as they can get their hands on. And how this is going to end, nobody knows, but I can tell you that all paper currencies in the world at some point are going to be revalued against hard assets, and I'm including the entire hard asset class, from rubber to cocoa to West Texas Intermediate crude, and gold and silver are going to get repriced against paper assets. So, the smart money, like I mentioned before, there's already 1,500 contracts traded in gold today in the or February contract. All of that standing for delivery. I mean, that's almost, I don't know what it is, 14 to 5 tons that people want physical gold. They want it now in hand. Okay. So to say how this is going to end up, I don't know. But like I said about Hemingway's description of bankruptcy, slowly at first and then suddenly. And we're in that phase right now where slowly has become much faster and faster. And it's been getting faster and faster and more furious as the days and weeks have gone by. And like I said a few minutes ago, you need a program these days to keep up with what's going on. But I know how it's going to end up. It's going to end up with a shiny new price for gold, silver, a whole slew of other commodities. We're going to see some price inflation that's pretty ugly, because you can't get away from revaluating basic commodities, whether it be trees or stuff you dig out of the ground or whatever you eat or whatever. It's going to be right down the food chain, and that's the result of the New York banks, bullion banks, and the British bullion banks sitting on gold and silver. They've been keeping the inflation genie in the bottle where we can't see it by suppressing these prices. Now nobody believes the inflation numbers that come out of the BLS. And that's for the simple reason is they're lying their asses off over there. The inflation rate is much higher than that. And the only reason we can't see it is because gold it's $3,000 an ounce, but it's not going up like $100 or $200 or $500 a day. They're in there making sure it's a nice, slow, steady climb. But like I said, the moment they decide that they're not going to control the price anymore, you're going to see a brand new price of gold and silver and a whole bunch of other commodities within a week or so. It's going to be quick. When it comes, it's going to be amazing, and the hyperinflation genie will be out of the bottle then.
Yeah, here's another thing to consider too. If the government revalues gold to 2,800 or $3,000, doesn't that effectively make it the doesn't that create a base price for gold? Ergo, I mean, meaning that it can never go beyond that point ever again, right? If the government's valuating gold at on their balance sheet at that level, that means that they won't ever let it come down below that level. Otherwise, they'd
Oh,
have to
absolutely.
buy. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, once they say we're going to reprice gold to say $3,000 an ounce, that's its base price. It's not going to go below that. And I don't know what's going to happen to the other commodities, but once they set the price, the people in the gold world will know, you know, that 3,000 is the base. If they set it at 3,000, they can easily revise it to 4,000 or
Right.
5,000. Like this is a thin edge of a very thick wedge, and the slowly at first and suddenly, this is just another step, another brick in the wall. You know, in a market like this, it's like walking in a fog. You go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll be able to see further. And that's where we are today. I mean, you asked me these questions, you asked me 2 months ago. I had one set of opinions, and now because of what's happening in the last 6 weeks, me and everybody else out there has another set of opinions about what's going on. It is just unbelievable what's happening in real time. I mean, I'm 76 years old, and I remember the time when everything was nice and quiet. Cost a nickel to send a letter first class and at 10 cents for a Coke, and now you're looking at, don't even want to think about what the prices are. But that's not been reflected in the gold price very much, and sooner or later, it's things are happening at warp speed out there now, and they're going to continue. And repricing gold, like you said, if they reprice it to $3,000, that's a floor. Okay, and everybody will know. Anybody that's in the gold world or the financial world knows if they're going to set it to 3,000, the day will come when they reset it to 4 and then 5. Okay, and you think the bull market is unstoppable now. Wait till you see what happens when they do that.
Yeah, if that happens, it's going to be nuts. For the last few moments of the show, I want to get your perspective on this Trump Canada war of words that has been going. Since you are Canadian, I want to get your perspective and viewpoints as to what he's trying to do with that. Is he really trying to make Canada the 51st state? What do you think is his true objective here?
You know, Trump wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. Okay, and I've been involved in transactions across the table with people for like 27 years, talking to people about selling this and buying that. So I have a lot of experience in this field. And what he's doing is he's just that's his opening gambit. Okay. He's trying to rattle everybody. And he's doing a hell of a job. I mean, look at, everybody's in a blind panic. Canada, Mexico, Britain. I mean, he's not happy with Britain or Europe or anybody. Okay. So this is his opening gambit. I think one of the things he's after is the fentanyl trade. I didn't realize how bad it was in Canada, but Canada's almost bad as Mexico when it comes to the drug cartels, which I'm very sad to admit. I just found out recently just how bad it was. So that's part of it. But basically, he's gone back from his first term, where he was foiled at every attempt by the deep state. He learned from his mistakes. He's well informed of what's going on. This is his last term, and he's going to go out there and he's going to change the world. And it's going to be America first all the way, and Canada, because we border on those two on the United States. And even though we're quote unquote friends, okay, this is strictly business, okay, and it's America first. And he's trying to return America to what it was like when it was back on, when they had a gold standard, when everybody in the world loved America. They loved Americans, and they wanted to be Americans. They wanted to be like them. Okay, that's gone. Okay, and God bless the guy. I mean, he's trying to save the U.S. I just hope it's not too late for him and Elon, and I wish him all the power and the money, because everybody wants the United States to be back being America the good, okay, and not what the evil, twisted monster it's become today.
Yeah, yeah, and then on top of that, you have this guy Mark Carney running for, I guess, the liberal seat, but it seems like Trudeau's gotten a bit of a bounce because of these talks. Is this a bit of an unforced error? Do you think on the part of Trump by kind of tightening some of his words on Canada over the last couple of weeks?
Don't get me started on Trudeau. He's a swamp creature like his dad. I remember Pierre, his dad. He was a piece of work too. And Mark Carney, and don't get me started on him. He is a deep state, new world order swamp creature of the first order of magnitude. As is this Freeland woman that's also running for being Prime Minister of Canada. I can't even remember her first name, but she's even worse. I mean, she's on the board of directors of the whatever this not the World Economic Forum. She's on the board of directors of that
Oh, is she?
with Klaus Schwab,
Hmm.
and Mark Carney is of the same ilk. I mean, we're talking swamp creatures like you would not believe. So either one of these guys or girls, okay, are just hideous in my eyes. And even I'll tell you what, even if whoever becomes the prime minister and takes over from I mean Justin, he's the little creep. Um, they're going to lose in a landslide in the next election, which is due sometime in October of this year. So I think, Canadians are looking. I mean, everybody's looking at the U.S. now. They're looking at Trump and saying, like, what's going on here? But what they see, he is putting his foot down, and he is just absolutely taking an axe and a chainsaw to everything. And that's going to help the other party here in Canada, the Conservative Party, and I'm sure that they'll ride on his coattails, but a much milder form of that, because this is Canada, not the USA. We're not an empire. And we're going to see the Conservative Party, which is your Republican Party in the U.S., sweep to power, and it won't make any difference whether Carney gets elected or Freeland or Trudeau or whatever. And we're going to see the swamp disappear here in Canada as well, and we're seeing it disappear, in Britain, and they're on their back foot now. I mean, it's really, really incredible to see what Trump is up to, and things here in Canada or in Mexico or wherever. Trump is just out there looking after America first. Good for him, and like I said, despite the fact that Mexico and Canada may suffer to a certain extent, well, that's just too bad. It's Donald is out for America first, and like I said, even though I'm living here in Canada, I'm cheering him on all the way.
Yeah, the winds of change are definitely blowing here, Ed.
At hurricane force, but at hurricane force too, by the way. This is a Category 5 hurricane you're looking at right now in the White House.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the strategy was, or the idea was on his part was just to overwhelm them with speed, and he's
Oh,
accomplished that.
absolutely,
They haven't been able to
absolutely. I
respond.
mean, yeah, and it helps that he's got somebody like Elon Musk. Elon's a force to be reckoned with in his own right. But I just look at him, and their methods are unorthodox, and I look at everybody clucks their tongues at them and says, "God, what the hell is happening?" But you take a look at it and you say, "My goodness sakes alive!" They are actually going. They're just absolutely on a wild rampage to cut the deep state down to size as quickly as they can, and that's what everybody's looking at. And then I can't remember John Kenneth Galbraith's famous quote, which I used in my column about a week ago. He says the act of revolution is the kicking in of a rotten door. And the deep state's been around since the Federal Reserve was formed in 1913, and they've got fat, happy, sloppy, too big, and now there's a new kid, there's a new sheriff in town, and his rabid deputies I've caught them pants down, and there's nothing they can do. And like I said, on behalf of all the citizens of planet of Earth, whether they be in the U.S., Canada, or wherever, I wish him and Elon and his deputies all the luck in the world.
Yeah, totally. I think no better way to end it than on that cheery note here, Ed. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. And where can people find you if they want to hear or see more?
Okay, well, I'm not really looking for new subscribers, but they can find me. Just Google my name, Ed Steer, Steer, Golden, Ed Steer Gold and Silver. My website will pop up, and there's a tab on there where it says free sample column, and you can read what I write. I cover the gold and silver markets chapter and verse, and to the contract, to the ounce, and if that kind of detail is what they're interested in, the freight is US $100 per year, and they can sign up and read it either on my website, and I set it up by email as well.
Fantastic. We'll have the links to that down below. So if you guys are interested, be sure to check it out. Ed, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you got value out of this episode, be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another episode like this. Also, comment, go Ed, go in the comment section if you agreed with Ed's analysis. If you disagreed with anything, do let me know. I do read the comments. And then again, check us out on Substack, capitalcosm.substack.com, where you can find early access to all of my videos, as well as ad-free versions and uncensored versions to my content that warrants it. And so with all that said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, y'all.